Joining us today is the renowned bluesman Spike Sikes. The Pacific Sun has described his music as a slow burn of blues, jazz, and soul, and his band, the Awesome Hotcakes, was honored with the award for Hardest Working Band in Sonoma. They will perform at the Lost Church on Sunday, June 30th for an 8:15 p.m. show, and here he is. Hi, Spike. Welcome to Backstage Sonoma.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. So glad you could be here.
Thanks for having me.
Can you tell our listeners how you got started with music?
I was born into a musical family. Both of my parents were in the Marines, and they were in the Marine band. When I was a little kid, I just kind of grew up around music. I tell people that, like if their dad works on cars, you just kind of grow up around it. You sort of know how things work, and that's kind of how it was with music.
You were telling me how poetry and jazz have influenced your music. Can you expand on that?
Absolutely. So when it comes to poetry stuff, especially like beat poetry and things like that, there's kind of a method connected to the way that a lot of the ethos behind it, right? Sort of like a first thought, best thought kind of thing. And trying to just really be in the moment, sort of go into this other artistic headspace, I guess. And for me, that's something that anytime I'm out performing, that's kind of the headspace I'm trying to be in. Definitely stuff like Kerouac and Ginsberg and Frank O'Hara. Those kind of folks had a big influence on the types of things that I want to write about.
All right.
And the way that I write. And then as far as jazz, I really started out as an instrumentalist. My first love was and really is still jazz, playing jazz on the saxophone. And I listened to tons of Miles Davis, and Ornette Coleman, and Thelonious Monk. And so even though I would never go as far as saying that my band is a jazz band, again, there's a kind of method behind a lot of that type of music where you're really putting a prize on making it new every time and really just kind of giving it everything you got. And also sort of a music first approach. Like the music world can have a lot of other components to it. But when you go out and play music, for me, I try to really put the sound of what we're doing first.
All right. So you play multiple instruments, right?
I do, yeah. Well, I started out playing the piano when I was 3. I started taking lessons as a little kid. I took the Suzuki method. And then when I was probably 11 or 12, I really got interested in playing the saxophone, but kind of the school band program was like, well, you got to play the clarinet first.
Right.
So I did that and sort of got sidetracked, had to play the bassoon for a long time. But I played saxophone. Playing the saxophone comes with its own bag of like, well, do you play the alto? Do you play the tenor? Do you play the soprano? And eventually, a lot of times you play all of them. I really got interested in songwriting and leading a band. So I started playing the guitar, and it's just kind of evolved from there. But it's mostly I mostly play different instruments because I love music, and I wouldn't ever claim to be real great at any of them, but I see them as tools for getting to play music.
Absolutely. You sent over some music to share with our listeners. And the first track we're going to play is a song called Shipwrecked. What can you tell us about this one?
Ideas for songs come kind of all over the place. And sometimes the combination of things, it doesn't necessarily make sense to anybody else, but it does to the person that's writing it. And in my case, I had bought a book of songs by the blues singer Bessie Smith. And on the back side of the book was a list of all the titles. And there was a song title on there called Shipwrecked Blues. And I had actually never heard that song before, but I liked that title. And it kind of reminded me of out near Point Reyes and Inverness, there's a shipwreck that people kind of go and they check it out and get the pictures taken with it and stuff. And I've been out there many times. And so I kind of started thinking about all those different things. Just something about the combination of those things made me think about the singer Taj Mahal. And so I kind of imagined like, well, what sort of song would Taj Mahal write about a shipwreck? And so that's where some of those ideas came from.
All right. Well, let's listen to it now and explore some of those influences you just talked about. You're listening to Cows FM, and my guest is Spike Sikes.
I'm shipwrecked on your shore, mama. I'm a castaway on your coast. Oh, my craft has gone adrift. I'm a castaway on your coast. I'm shipwrecked on your shore. I've been sailing across the sea, mama, just to try to get back to you. But the water's got rough and my ship broke in two. I've been sailing across the sea, trying to get back to you. If you hear my song, mama, I'll be on the waves. Remember the way that I loved you on them summer days. I'll be on the way. I'm shipwrecked on your shore, mama. I'm a castaway on your coast. Oh, my craft has gone adrift. I'm a castaway on your coast. I'm shipwrecked on your shore.
This is Cows FM. My guest this hour is musician Spike Sikes. We're listening to some of his music and going to be talking about his upcoming show at the Lost Church. But before we do that, Spike, can you talk a little bit about your songwriting process? I mean, you kind of spoke to that before we played the song there. What goes into some of your songwriting?
I would say there's probably about three kind of main things that are always happening with songs. Number one, 99% of the time I start from a title, and the title just sort of tends to suggest a direction that things need to go in. And it's also a way to kind of make sure that you don't get too far away from a central theme or a central idea. So I start with a title, and then from there, it's different. You know, it could be write lyrics first or write music or kind of do those things at the same time. But really, the second big thing is you finish everything. So even if you kind of get going on some idea and you feel like you're only maybe a third of the way into it, I try to make myself finish every song that I start so that you learn from the experience every time. And the third thing is just to write all the time. You know, I write every week, sometimes 2 or 3 songs a week.
Yeah.
There's definitely not enough time in life to go out and perform all those songs, but you never know when you're going to get that opportunity to use something that you've written.
Well, that's great. Thanks for sharing that with us. On your website, Spike, you say no one is making this kind of music anymore. How would you describe your sound to a first-time listener?
That quote, that was something that somebody said to us, because I know there are people making this kind of music still. But I do think that what they really meant is that it's a very sort of old school approach to having a band. You know, it's like we play original music, we have a horn section, you know, and the music it's meant to be uplifting and joyful and kind of life affirming. It draws on all kinds of stuff from soul music and jazz, but also, you know, a lot of blues stuff. I think sometimes, especially like a music like blues, you know, people tend to think of the kind of Robert Johnson Delta blues thing, but like there's a lot of jump blues and, you know, that kind of thing. Gatemouth Brown and Louis Jordan. I describe it as feel-good music with a horn section.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Let's spin another track of yours. This one's titled The Last Rodeo. What's the backstory here?
Well, again, kind of going back to that idea of working from a title, there's that expression, it's not my first rodeo. It kind of got me thinking about having grown up in Texas and been around people who are in that whole rodeo world.
Sure.
And the rodeo world being very similar to the music world and really all different types of vocations. You get to a spot where you're sort of beyond a novice and you're more like an expert in it. And you kind of go through that whole thing. And then eventually you reach a point where you go like, well, maybe this is my last go round on this whole thing. And also, of course, those types of things can be metaphors for relationships, all different types of things like that.
Here's Spike Sikes with The Last Rodeo on Cows FM.
Ain't a lot that I could say that would change a single thing. Maybe the meanest bag of words that a cowboy has to say. When you lay down in the dust and the blood runs from your eye, would you laugh like a little child and you kiss the crowd goodbye? Don't it feel like a high on silver? Don't it feel like Geronimo when you got nowhere else to go and you're way down the old that's rodeo? Don't it sound like old Hank Williams singing on the radio? Yeah, they ain't gotta be on with the show when you're way down the old that's rodeo. Opinions about everything you see, but when it comes over the rails, what he wears when he's on his knees. Oh mama, if you could see me, I'll be in church first thing today. I raise my hands to sing, Lord, take my sins away. Don't it feel like a high or silver? Don't it feel like Geronimo when you got nowhere else to go? Yeah, you went down the old last rodeo. Don't it sound like old Hank Williams singing on the radio? It ain't got to be on with the show when you went down the old last rodeo. Well, I wouldn't take nothing back except a kiss that you never got. We knew we was bound for hell, but determined to give it a shot. I remember when I used to love you like a bird of a big blue sky. But I've been up and down the highway, see more blues than my eyes could cry. Don't it feel like a high on silver? Don't it feel like you're running when you got nowhere else to go and you're way down the old that's a rodeo? Don't it sound like old Hank Williams singing on the radio?
If you're just joining us, we're speaking with musician Spike Sikes about his music and upcoming show. Who are the Awesome Hotcakes and what instruments do they play?
So the Awesome Hotcakes could be anything from just a couple of us in the band all the way up to about an 8-piece band. But if everybody is there, we got Mark Malazzo, plays bass guitar. Tracy Rose is our drummer. We have George Humphreys, who plays keyboards for us. And then there's Ray Fernandez, plays baritone saxophone, sometimes plays tenor.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Rick Clifford, plays tenor saxophone for us. Tony Davids on trombone. And from time to time, we're able to bring in Mingo Lewis Jr. to play percussion.
In some of your pre-show announcements for this upcoming show at the Lost Church, you say you're going to blend in that poetry and jazz sort of feel to it. What else can the audience look forward to at the show at the Lost Church?
The interesting thing about the show at the Lost Church is that the band won't be there.
Mm-hmm.
So it will just be me. And that's actually kind of my band, as you mentioned earlier, works a lot. We've won the sort of the hardest working band thing a couple times. That's all because we love to play all the time. But one of the things that comes with playing in a band, like that all the time is that it's, we're often playing in bars and in clubs, and our emphasis is on sort of helping those venues bring people in and sell what they are selling. And so you bring in dancers, and you do all this kind of stuff. But the show at the Lost Church is really about songwriting. And it's a much smaller kind of room, very focused on kind of getting people the chance to really listen and hear the songs themselves, and maybe be able to incorporate some poetry, whether it's something I've written or things that I enjoy reading. I've played at the Lost Church a couple of other times in some real small configurations, but this time it'll just be solo. So I'm really looking forward to getting to do that.
Great. Where's the best place I can send our listening audience to learn more about your music and schedule?
Well, the two best places, they can go to the awesomehotcakes.com, which is the band's website. We try to have pretty much all of our information up there. And then we're on Facebook, and our Facebook page is where we update a lot of the shows that sort of come in.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're playing pretty often, there's stuff getting posted on there almost every day.
Well, just to remind our listeners, you can catch Spike Sikes at the Lost Church on Sunday, June 30th for an 8:15 p.m. show. For tickets and more information, go to thelostchurch.org. Spike, thank you so much for your time today, and have a great show.
Oh, thank you very much for having me on your program, and really appreciate it.